Okay, so for this episode of ABNcast, we're still at the Farnborough Airshow. It is day 4, and we have moved to the Air India and TATA chalet. It's one of the biggest chalets in the show. It's absolutely enormous, and I'm delighted to be joined by Arun Pradeep, who's the business head for travel, transport, and hospitality at TATA Consultancy Services (TCS). Arun, thanks for inviting us to your chalet. It's good to see you.
Thank you. Pleasure's all mine.
Let's start by talking about what TCS is and what it does. Obviously, consultancy, it's in the name, but I know you specialise particularly in technology. So, what is it? What services do you offer to the industry?
Yeah. So, thanks, Lee. TCS, TATA Consultancy Services, is a global services company, technology services company, focusing on various technologies, digital and across industry verticals. Aviation is a big focus. That's what travel, transport, hospitality looks at. Within travel, transport, hospitality, we look at the mobility, both the people mobility and the goods mobility ecosystem. We have airlines, airports, other parts of the travel ecosystem, providers, car rentals, cruises, road transport, rail transport providers. So that forms the people mobility. Then we have a big set of industry verticals looking at goods mobility, which is the shipping, logistics, postal operators who are also into a lot of e-commerce logistics. So this is the wide range of services that we provide for these customers in this space.
And talking before we started recording the episode, you're explaining actually, although you do all these things in all these different sectors, aviation is a very important part of the business. There's a sort of history with aviation. Just explain what that history is and why it's one of your core areas that you focus on.
Absolutely. So aviation is a big part of the TCS business. We've been working very focusedly in this industry vertical for more than 3 decades now. We also have a rich heritage in terms of, in the 90s, we had 2 joint ventures, one with a APAC carrier and another one with an European carrier, where the focus was how do we develop core reservations, inventory, ticketing and loyalty systems, again in an efficient way. We did it in an onshore-offshore model. We pioneered that model quite early days of when the Indian IT industry was coming up. Similarly, the joint venture we had with the European airline was focusing on the back office processes, and back office processes not just in terms of finance, accounting, HR, but also core airline domain processes, which are revenue accounting, fare filing, pricing administration. So these 2 joint ventures gave us a very strong footing in the airline industry, along with many of the other customers we were servicing. Today, we see ourselves as a technology company with a very deep airline aviation expertise. It helps us to build a strong customer base. Today, we service more than 50 customers globally, doing everything from running their IT operations to really innovating in cutting-edge transformation, be it in passenger experience, operational excellence, maintenance, repair, overhaul, MRO, across the value chain, I would say.
And obviously Tata is also the owner of Air India. But as you were explaining before, if you go back far enough, Air India was founded as Tata Airways.
Absolutely.
So it's the link there is really strong, and the airline has now come back into the sort of the Tata family, essentially.
Absolutely. There is a rich history and heritage with the Tata and the aviation industry. In fact, our earlier chairman, J.R.D. Tata, was the first commercial aviation pilot. For India, who flew the first aircraft. We founded the Tata Airways, which was then nationalized, and as part of the privatization, Air India has now come back into the overall Tata Group, Tata family. And there are big plans, obviously, with the growth of Air India and the Indian aviation in general.
There is. We'll talk about that in more depth, but there are huge, big plans. And this week in Farnborough, we had one of the new A350s and the new livery and the new cabins. We were lucky enough to have a look around earlier in the week. really high quality.
Yeah.
It's a real statement of intent for an airline that is wanting now to become part of like this huge global network of leading carriers. So
absolutely,
it's a statement of intent this week, isn't it, in Farnborough?
Absolutely, there are big ambitions. You would have seen some of the aircraft orders. The rate at which they are inducting the new aircrafts. What I hear is almost a new aircraft every 6th day.
Yeah.
So that's a kind of a growth trajectory they're looking at.
Yeah.
But as part of that, obviously technology is going to play a big role in putting in the right systems in place, so this massive scaling that happens.
And obviously, what happens when an airline like Air India grows like it does, like we've seen in the Gulf states, is that you become a hub for aviation. So you start doing all these other things, which is why you've got the consultancy services. You start to become experts in the technology and so on. So we can expect large hubs to become to develop in India that do all these sorts of things. Like MRO is one of them. Obviously, you mentioned MRO earlier. This is now happening. We should now be looking at India as being maybe the next growing hub for aviation in the world.
There is a huge potential there. I'm sure the policymakers and the government is very closely looking at it. But if you look at the geographical positioning in terms of how it could be a good connecting traffic provider, that's one. But there is a huge home market.
Well, I was going to say, domestically, India is going for air travel.
Absolutely.
Maybe even ahead of high-speed rail, but it's air travel where they're going.
There is definitely big growth that's coming in. In terms of the infrastructure is fast developing as well. The number of new airports that will come up and the plans for the new airports.
Quite astonishing. I mean, someone told me one, I don't know if this is absolutely accurate or true, but there are something like 400 airports either being built or in planning in India alone. That sounds like an astonishing number. I'm sure many are small regional airports.
There's a huge number, though. I don't have the exact numbers off my fingertips, but the numbers are big.
It's in that region.
It's still an area where fast developing, picking up a lot of pace. And in terms of the number of new passengers that you could who can afford to travel and who are taking up to travel, that market is growing
that
big.
Growing middle class in India, which is the numbers again are astonishing.
Absolutely.
Millions, maybe even billions, but certainly millions of people.
Absolutely.
Are flying for the first time ever. I guess the first people in their family to ever fly.
Absolutely. There is you could see that change happening in a much faster pace.
Let's go into the technology side of it. That's your favourite topic. I think.
Absolutely.
Clearly, technology is in everything in aviation. You can't talk about anything without there being some technology behind it. We're a technology company, industry. It's also engineering, isn't it? So there's some hard engineering going on, but behind it, technology is playing that role. We talk. It's efficiency, isn't it? Really, that technology brings. What do you think are the big gains from embracing the modern technologies that are available today for the industry?
So the way we look at it, if it is jet fuel which is powering the aircrafts, it's the data and technology which is really powering the airline business. Every aspect of airline business is powered by data and technology today. And in that sense, it's also evolving so rapidly. There are so many new elements that have come in. Generative AI is one of the new ones which has come in. But the focus on data, harnessing the power of the data, and using that to really either improve the passenger experience, improving the whole operational efficiency, bringing in intelligence to that, or improve the maintenance turnaround time. So those are the elements of various possibilities that have come up, and technology is really taking them forward. As TCS, we are that's one area where we are collaborating with many of our customers, airline in this case, where we are looking at there are major themes that are emerging. Right? If you look at industry went through its turbulent phase during the COVID. With really the passenger volumes hitting near zero at one point, then starting up. A lot of people thought that it's going to take decades before the traffic volumes come back to what was pre-COVID. But we see that this year already, I think Feb of 2024, the passenger volumes have hit the monthly passenger volumes have hit the pre-COVID volumes, and this year we are going to really meet and exceed the target. So the growth has come back strongly, but what has happened is that the airlines pretty much had to restart. The way they operated, they let go of most of the teams went away, but they are now attracting new talents. But there is an opportunity to not replicate how it was done before, but reimagine and create a new paradigm. And that's where technology is playing a big role, where digitizing many parts of the value streams of how airlines operate.
Yeah.
An example is, can technology be used effectively? There is shortage of engineers, maintenance engineers. How do we improve the productivity of the maintenance engineers? How do we bring in technologies where machine is collaborating efficiently with human?
Yeah.
It's still at end controlled by human, but technology is aiding them to perform the operations.
It's making humans
faster.
better at what they
Absolutely.
better at their job. Really.
Absolutely, yeah.
COVID was an opportunity, and it was often said at the time, look, it's an opportunity to rethink. You're not having to fly passengers for the first time. It's not a great thing, but actually it was an opportunity to go, right, hang on, let's start again, let's rethink. Did the aviation industry do enough of that during that period? You said they're still doing it now, because it's much harder to make change when you're still operating day to day.
Yeah, they did do enough within the, they also went through where there was absolutely no revenue stream during that period.
That's the hard bit.
Yeah.
How do you then invest
in it? So, but I think the way the industry has bounced back is a testament to the fact that the resiliency of the industry, the airlines, the investment that they made, conserved the cash, but they invested it in the right places. So that's enabling them. So if you look at one element is the self-service adoption. The percentages are vastly higher than what it was pre-COVID. Customer side. What they're using, self-service, self-check-in, and so on. Today, self-baggage drop. That was adoption. Today, you can pretty much get to the aircraft with very minimal, intervention. A lot of things. So the ease of use, the seamlessness has improved vastly. Yeah. But it is always, as in any work in progress. There is a lot more to be done. But there's a lot of
the hard part is often, you alluded to it. It's not that customer-facing thing. It's that's very public. Everyone sees that, and you and I feel it when we go through an airport.
Absolutely.
It's the behind-the-scenes things that no one really sees. And you talk about engineering. Is those jobs? Sometimes they're very hard jobs. Sometimes they're very physical. And, they're not going to change that much. You have to be in the office or in the workplace. But as you suggested, technology is playing its part to make those jobs a bit easier, or maybe more efficient at least. In what ways is that happening? Just explain how the technologies that you're an expert in are helping those MRO shops and those engineers to do more with less, I guess.
So you touched upon a very interesting point. Right? The visible ones are always these customer-facing ones, but there is a lot goes behind. Lot of in the initial days, a lot of focus as the digital technology was evolving. A lot of focus went into customer-facing, consumer-facing systems and solutions. New website, mobile apps, chatbots, social media presence. So they are very important. They captured a really mind share of the customers. They helped the airlines engage with customers better. But the focus, rightly so, is also now being on the operations, which is what we call as you have the customer experience, but you need to also at the same time deliver the customer promise, which is how do you...
And who does that? It's your people, isn't it?
Yes, exactly that. How do you enable your employees with the right tools and technologies to make them efficient?
It's this idea. You've got CX, customer experience, on the front end. But actually, you're never going to be good at that unless your employee experience behind that is good. You've got happy employees. They've got the tools at disposal, the information they need. They provide the great customer service up front. So maybe that is sometimes overlooked, I think, isn't it?
Absolutely. In the initial days of digital adoption, we have this interesting story. There was a disruption happening. there was a huge passenger queue, and the airline staff were looking at getting the right information, passing on what's happening. And this was an example which was quoted, and there was this passenger who was cool, and the airline staff asked, are you not worried, about getting the right information? He said that, I have everything is available in my mobile. I'm being informed, which the airline staff themselves didn't have. So that's where now, that's many years back in the initial days of, but the amount of investment and the focus airlines have now put in is really giving those right tools, information, data to the, their staff.
That customer empowerment, the visibility, get the access to information,
absolutely.
It actually increases their expectations.
Absolutely. So
it's even more imperative that you meet those expectations, because I think the gap between expectations and reality is what causes the friction.
You're absolutely right there. And that's where one of the solutions we are showcasing in Farnborough is TCS Aviana. It's a connected aviation solution. How do you bring in intelligence to the airline operations value chain? Because there is so much data. The industry produces a lot of data. Each aircraft, engine, terabytes of data they produce. There are millions of customers that the airline have. They share information, but ensuring that the privacy aspects are taken care. There are data that you can use, and similarly from your crew, your flight, your network, your fuel systems. There's a lot of data coming out. It is how do you harness the power of that, drive a lot of insights and analytics into it. You have this 360-degree feedback loop that it goes back into the operations. So your operations is continuously learning, and it is becoming more and more efficient.
AI is all about.
Absolutely.
It's that ability to learn from the data that you're collecting. This is a massive issue in one of our sort of pet topics, which is predictive aircraft maintenance. Under MRI management, we have our two-day annual conference looking at exactly that, which is really all about what does AI do, what does data analytics and capture do for that part of the industry. And one of the key things is always, look, we have got all this data, but in order to really make use of it properly, we need to collaborate with other people, with the stakeholders. Sometimes you're collaborating with competitors. So there's got to be a kind of agreement, some sort of working arrangement where that data is shared, but in a trust manner. There's a massive trust element. So how does the industry overcome that?
See, I think that is one good thing in the airline industry. In topics like MRO, they don't look at themselves as airlines and competitors. They really collaborate. There are a lot of spare parts exchange which are there. And if you look at some of the big airlines, they have their maintenance repair overhaul, or the technique department they have, where they service not only their own airline aircrafts, they service other airlines as well. Based on where, whose home base they are flying in.
So and they're good at it because they run their own airlines, so they're expert in that.
Absolutely.
They can offer that expertise to competitors, which is
and that's where the industry bodies like IATA, ICAO play a big role. And it's also because the safety MRO is a regulated industry. There are players who are really collaborating together, systems providers collaborating together, and many of them sharing information. Spare parts are shared and exchanged. History of that is maintained, and that's growing because now with data and AI coming in, you have platforms to really capture all the information, be much more smarter about it. That's where the predictive maintenance come in, and you have the right benchmarks available. You can constantly validate yourself against the benchmark.
It's running more effectively and efficiently as an operation, and if you can do that, that's what everyone's after these days.
Absolutely.
We talk about people a lot, and we've mentioned it a few times, but what these technologies also do, if you can't get your hands on very experienced people out there, because they're just simply not enough of them about, they can use the wisdom of everybody through these technologies, which is what it's all about. And I know there's loads of headsets, VR and augmented reality being brought into the industry. Is that coming quickly enough, do you think? Or are we now adopting it at speed?
I think we have the recent launch of Apple Vision Pro. One of the systems really now we're looking at is, and we are also showcasing that is, how can we do this augmented reality, virtual reality based maintenance operations. How do we train the engineers, combine that with AI, where you have the base model in terms of how the aircraft, the different parts, the landing gears, each of them has to function, configured, and then when you do the maintenance checks, can it automatically detect the anomalies and then they guide the engineers to take the right steps. And even the engineers are doing those, they are doing 10 steps if they are doing in a certain sequence. If they probably miss one step or do certain things in the wrong sequence, system can immediately alert.
Yeah.
So you reduce that, pretty much make it a zero risk model there. Yeah.
There's a little trust element there as well. If I know the pilots themselves can feel this. They feel like they're being monitored all the time. That can be unnerving, but I think if you sell it to these professionals as though actually it's helping you do a better job, which ultimately pleases the customer, that ultimately is what everyone's trying to achieve.
Absolutely, and I think the key is the right mission-human collaboration. You talked about it earlier as well, where the power of the final decision making is certainly still with human, but the systems and these AI models are guiding them in terms of making the better decisions. So that's what is the focus.
At a conference not long ago, someone talking about the adoption of AI and the acceptance of AI in everything, in all walks of life, but in particular in this area. And made a good point really, and said, look, we ask, it looks like an aircraft. We ask a number of the stakeholders about this. So we're asking the cabin crew, we're asking the pilots. Why aren't we asking everybody who's got a stake in this? So it could be the people who work on the cargo or on the baggage side of it, also the engineers. Ask them about what they want out of AI, and if you then do what they want, they're more likely to accept it.
Absolutely,
embrace it. Really,
I think they are a very important stakeholders in are the most important stakeholder in that, because it's going to transform the way they are going to operate, and it has to have the right balance between what's the human element and what's the machine element in it. And it is definitely, we see this as, some people talk about it as they are coming in and taking away the human job. It's just the job of the human would evolve, would change differently. We see that even in our own tech industry. Today we do a lot of programming and.
You don't need to code eventually, will you? You'll just get an AI bot to do it for you.
But the only thing is, does it mean that those people will not do the same thing? They will probably do something different. From being the coders, testers, they would become the teachers of these AI robots.
As well, more productive. On that basis, we will still need these people in the business, in the industry, and we need lots and lots. I think there's a huge shortfall potentially. I think someone was saying 1.3 million people are going to be needed in aviation in the coming decade or so. Are we going to see those coming from countries like India, where there are sort of potentially large workforces, well-educated, growing middle class, and so on? So will we see that sort of shift in terms of where the human resource comes from?
There is India as a country and the availability of talent, which definitely holds a promise in terms of fulfilling some of those needs. But it can come from pretty much many of the other geographies as well. There is a lot of focus, and it is going to be a combination of people and technology coming together. And certainly, tech is one area where there is already established leadership out of India.
And aviation offers amazing careers for people. It's exciting. There's a global element to it, and you can do it anywhere in the world by nature. So it should be a sector that people aspire to work in.
Absolutely. We talked about engineering could be the maintenance engineering could be the other big area like now tech industry has come up.
Has been reports published this week about the shortfall in MRO capacity for demand, and that doesn't seem to be. It's very hard to fix that overnight because it's very difficult to suddenly spin up a huge MRO facility. Some people might, and in the next 10-5 years there's an opportunity, I'm sure we'll see that happen. But is the answer to that capacity problem going to come from just making more use of what you've got today? You can't. There's going to be no silver bullet in terms of there's going to be new facilities just appearing.
And these are multi-million investments as well, the new facilities. So, and that's where technology is like a digital twin. can play a big role as well. How do we mimic the environment in a digital way? And so a lot of modeling you could do so that you can make the best usage of physical space. So that's another possibility that the digital twin technology offers.
The digital twinning idea is because really it's useful throughout the operation of an airline. You can model all sorts of things like your fuel efficiency, routing, and all sorts of things, can't you? So it makes absolutely every sense for every airline to have a virtual airline running in the metaverse, whatever you want to call it.
Absolutely. Initially it started as creating a digital twin of physical objects, but it goes from there. You can create a digital twin of your operations, and then use technologies to continuously look at how it's performing in the digital space and optimize it.
I've seen this big examples of creating a virtual factory floor before you even actually physically put any spades in the ground to work out how to design and manage it and organize it to the best efficiency.
Absolutely. An interesting example of work that we did, this is more for a logistic in a sorting terminal. You have this big conveyor chute which is there, and the whole parcels flow through that, and then and these sorting stations really sort them to the in terms of where they need to be shipped finally for the trucks to come and pick up. What we actually did was, and during Christmas period, there is always this peak volume. Then it kind of plateaus down. But you can't go and build these multi-million sorting stations. Created a digital twin of this whole sorting terminal, and looked at how the parcels are flowing through, where the bottlenecks are, using technologies like AI, predict that what kind of problems would come in, apply the what if scenario, so that you are optimizing the whole sorting process in itself. That really saved multi-million pounds, but also made the sorting operation efficient and end customers happy.
You didn't have to invest multi-millions in a new facility. You just use what you've got and you're operating more efficiently. Sustainability is another key thing, and this it all sort of, it all overlaps. I mean, and tech and sustainability will be part of the solution. I know sustainability is a big thing that TATA will be consulting your clients on. What for you is the big gains, the big wins in the near term?
So this is one thing which is going to be on the table for everyone. And it's only going to come at even more faster pace. And now you see the Farnborough, the whole theme is around sustainability, and even if you actually look at TCS, the solutions we are showcasing, there is a lot around the sustainability. Green Mile solution is one of them. How do we create a sustainable travel? So what we see, particularly in aviation industry, there are two elements to it. One is how do you ensure there is enough sustainable aviation fuel. Today the airlines are consuming everything that is out there. So it's about how do you increase the production. There's a lot of work that needs to go in. What are the various alternate sustainable aviation fuel? This week TCS announced its partnership with Rolls-Royce in the hydrogen fuel research. So that's something, a partnership we are really looking to, and we want to make the engines efficient, look at alternative sustainable fuels.
It's something like, is hydrogen a solution for everybody? Is it just part of the mix of solutions?
It will be part of the mix of the solutions. It could be one of the alternative sustainable fuel option. So while these big fuel option is being worked with in a partnership with the aviation, energy providers, regulators, financial institutions, because you need to have the right level of funding as well. So the tech is developing fast to address that. There is a lot we can do incrementally to ensure that the travelers are becoming eco-conscious. You put it part of their travel process. You ensure that they are rewarded for making sustainable travel choices. And today customers want to do that. They want to be informed. So how do we collect the data? How do we inform them? Provide data around the efficiency of the aircrafts and so on.
Say rewarded, it's a bit of carrot to do the right thing as opposed to stick. I think in the West maybe we do a bit of stick. My understanding, things like recycling in India, it's often always a carrot. You get rewarded for doing the right behaviors you want people to do.
So it definitely it goes today. Those carbon credits are there and people buy and so on. But how do you reward them? So I'm a passenger. When I'm going to book my flight, I'm getting the options. There are fuel efficient options which are available.
Yeah.
How can I be rewarded for choosing the right option? How can I, if I'm taking sustainable travel mode, public transportation to reach the airport, how can that I be rewarded?
Yeah.
If I'm carrying less baggage, not consuming a meal. So these are some of the things we looked at, and how do you make it part of your loyalty program in itself?
Yeah.
So the art of possible is immense here.
Yeah.
Some of the solutions we developed are around that, and we're showcasing. That's definitely something which would be interesting.
Ahead. I'm sure there's lots going on. And
certainly.
Our time has beaten us for this edition of ABNcast, but it's been really good to speak to you.
Thank you.
Arun, and thanks for inviting us on to the chalet.
Pleasure.
I've just noticed opposite, there's a quote from the founder, Mr. Jamsettin TATA, the founding father of the company, which I'll just read out. In a free enterprise, the community is not just another stakeholder of business, but it is in fact the very purpose of its existence.
Absolutely, and that is one of the big Tata ethos. And if you look at the way the group is structured, Tata Trust, which is the majority shareholder of the Tata Sons, which is a group company, the 66% of it held by them. So there is a lot which goes back into the society. Profit-making organizations, but ensuring that it gives back to the community.
Good as well.
Well, that's it.
Lovely. Thanks very much for that. We'll keep our eyes on the developments, I'm sure, very closely over the years to come. So thanks very much.
Thank you. Pleasure is all mine. Thank you. Cheers. Yeah, lovely talking to you.
We are delighted that our friends at Amadeus have agreed to be the launch sponsor for ABNcast. And while they do not endorse the views and opinions expressed, they are keen to support a new forum for debate around the future of aviation. Today's traveller expects to be wowed way before they arrive at their destination, and passengers want a smooth, effortless journey, combined with exceptional personalised experiences. Embarking on such a major transformation to become traveller-centric retailer isn't an overnight journey though, so how are airlines adapting? Well, you can discover how they are seizing the opportunities afforded by new technology in Amadeus's Travel Technology Investment Trends 2024 Airlines Report. Key findings show 50% of full-service carriers are planning to spend more on technology this year than in the previous year, and 58% of low-cost carriers cite innovation as the top technology investment driver over the next 12 months. In the report, you'll also discover key objectives driving technology investment for both full-service and low-cost carriers, aspirations of airlines on the journey to modern retailing, and the technologies expected to make the greatest impact on the industry. You can download the full report now on www.amadeus.com. Just go to the Resource Centre and you'll find it in Research Reports. And don't forget to subscribe to ABNcast on our YouTube or Spotify channels to make sure you don't miss future episodes. Thank you very much.